will join that ban.
Now, we are in the picks and bans, of course. Now, Cloud9 with the first pick, what will they pick up? Will they go for the Shyvana that they selected in game number 1, or will they look for an alternative pickup here? We know they've got the Trundle in their pocket here to look to pick up. Now, Kha'Zix is available, and they want to take that away from JWoww and potentially give that over to Ku in the jungle.
Yeah, indeed. We saw Ku on his staple champion of Lee Sin, which didn't quite go to plan in the first game. His lanes didn't do all that well without him, and by the time he got his kills, he wasn't able to do too much. However, if you have a Kha'Zix farming in the jungle and he's unable to gank, he's still going to be relevant when you hit team fights. He'll still get to the point where he'll be that reset machine, and he just requires a couple kills in the early game. And we were talking about this earlier when Ku was playing Kha'Zix. It's like, well, he's picked up 2 kills, he can die 9 times and it'll still be relevant.
Now, Mundo is available for Oda. I really want to see that Trundle again. It's worked well for them, but so has Mundo. I don't blame him for locking in the more consistent pick of Dr. Mundo here, especially with his ability to have a lot of influence on team fights. Does fairly well against Shyvana as well. So Thresh and Dr. Mundo have been locked in for Cloud9. Sadly, by the looks of it, no Trundle this time, unless they do something sneaky by putting Kha'Zix in the mid lane, Mundo in the jungle. Might still see Trundle, but I'm not hoping for it.
I would love to see it, especially against Lololol. It's something that they definitely wouldn't have seen before and have to adapt to on the fly. But when you get to this very top level, I mean, we have seen some amazing teams all the way through the scan, EUS Winter Invitational, but now we're in the grand finals. Maybe just stick to what everyone knows best. No doubt they will stick to his Mundo.
Yeah, I think that's the right option from them, as they have been consistent on that. Another consistent pairing has been Vi and Caitlyn. Pairing in the lore of League of Legends, and a good pairing together as well we've seen throughout the entire tournament. Very strong, consistent picks right now. And that does leave Cloud9 with the ability to counterpick the Vi with a Kayle. They are looking perhaps for their mid laner, and as I say that, Voidal does hover over Kayle. So we'll get locked in, we'll pick up that anti-Vi champion of Kayle.
And again, there's a couple options for the AD carry pick. It could be, of course, Lucian, who does operate very well with Thresh, and indeed he has just been locked in on my screen because I am just casting over champion selects until we get into game. So we'll just have to see what the last pickup will be from Lololol.
We are looking for their support, and we've seen a couple of different picks. Annie has been pretty much 100% banned out here. Of course, Rengar not available, not a support, but just to touch on why he hasn't been seen in picks or bans yet. Not available because we're following the LCS ruling of Rengar having that slight bug, so teams not available to pick Rengar at all for today's semi-finals and finals. The support they're looking for hovering over Lulu, perhaps not a champion we've seen all that much in recent times. Teams have favoured Sivir, Leona, even Sona, who hasn't been played too often but fulfills a similar role to Annie. So will Lulu be picked up here? They've hovered over and they're going to let it time out, so it will get locked in.
Yeah, it complements Caitlyn very well. It's another pick that was available that they might have gone for was Zyra, who does something very similar to Lulu. It's long-range poking, which is what they want to do. They're up against Lucian, and they already know Lucian's not going to be able to get in range of Caitlyn to really trade off effectively, and Lulu will punish Voidal when he comes into auto-attack.
Now, at this point, I'm wondering whether we'll see the lane swap again. It was when they were playing on the red side with Lololol that they did, in fact, lane swap. And one of the benefits of lane swapping here is they force Kha'Zix either to the solo lane or they commit to losing the tower, because Caitlyn and Lulu will push incredibly quickly. I wouldn't be surprised to see them heavily push that upper tower very quickly if they do decide to lane swap, which really reduces Ku's effect on the game unless he can get a kill in the bottom lane. It's one of those games where I kind of have the sense of a lane swap coming up, but they don't have to. They've got a very consistent set of lane pairings anyway, so it's an option that Lololol have.
Yeah, and I think now it's an option, whereas in the previous season, if you saw a lane swap opportunity, you would go for it, because lane swaps are fantastic. But because of the changes, it's now an option, but it's not necessary, and especially, as you said, the lanes will go fine regardless.
Now, we are going to head into a very short break here before we get into game number 3. It means you've got at least 2 games still to come here in the Scan Invitational Finals. Better stick around with us, because this is sure to be a thriller. Welcome back. Game number 3 time here for the Scan Invitational Grand Finals. That means we've at least got one more after this, even if either team wins. That sentence didn't make sense. We've got lots of games to come because, as you can tell, I'm all hyped, all excited for this game because we've had 2 absolutely cracking games so far.
Indeed, we've had the full circle of esports casting, got the tech issues, 2 amazing games so far, and it's just been fantastic. But we are on to the Rift for the 3rd, and not the final game, because this is the best of 5.
Yeah, I'm so glad this is a best of 5 finals. I would be far too unhappy leaving it at the end of this game because we need a definitive winner. These 2 teams are so close that 3 games just wouldn't be enough to separate them. And we thought MYM and Cloud9 earlier this morning was fantastic and was going to be close, and it was close, but this is a whole new level of close.
Bring on the best of 7. I'm sure these teams will probably die from like dehydration or something before that happened. But either way, Adamne will be leading the charge into the jungle, and JWoww just takes the cleaver and will be walking back in, and that's probably the end of it. Just the ward will come down just for the extra vision, and I think that is not actually in the push.
Both teams respecting each other a lot here with these, I was going to say defensive starts, but the slightly delayed invade out of Cloud9 has been spotted out, so Triple Lol do know about this, and it looks like we're actually seeing the lane swap instigated potentially by Cloud9 here, although they're looking to take out 2 buffs. I've only just realized that, of course, it is Mundo that is the top laner, so a little bit of a different start. Let's see how Kha'Zix is getting on with his own red buff. They've secured both red buffs. That is a big power play to begin this game by Cloud9.
There we go, there's the teleport from Odamne, and this is very interesting. Like, we expected a lane swap, but not necessarily from Cloud9. And it definitely will work. Mundo's got to sustain, hit level 6, and he's golden. Middle lane will have no difference, but that has allowed them that early power play.
Yeah, and that's a big play because one of the things we talked about is the pushing potential of Caitlyn and Lulu, but a Lucian with a red buff is going to shove Shyvana out even harder in this lane, so they may be able to even up the disadvantage that they're going to put their top laners at.
Indeed, and we'll just have to see how that happens, but it still puts Yuki and Dialed into a 1 versus 2 scenario in which, well, they poke and siege very quickly since they are very long-range champions who have a lot of poke, and Odamne would not be surprised if he just opts to take these golems.
Yeah, that's one of the things that they haven't been able to do with this 2v1 is we talked about the roaming that you can choose to do with your jungler, and this is the decision making out of the junglers. Morden is up in the top lane, but Ku has gone to his solo lane as well, so this could be an explosive start to this game.
Indeed, the hook will land onto JWoww, and will they go for the dive? He lands the flake, he lands the leap into Taste Their Fear, but they do not decide to go any further. The jungler intervention from Morden, both of the junglers finding themselves at top lane.
But between double red buffs and the 3v2 here in top lane, they're going to re-engage.
They're going for round 2. Flay backwards. Voidal takes a couple tower shots. Morden is still in the danger zone. Q misses. Q has found him isolated underneath the tower. That's going to be the tower splitting the aggro. Voidal takes another. He may well drop. He flashes out. Taken down by Vi.
And Morden will be happy to pick up something from that, but they've still taken a lot of damage. Forbidden's taken a lot in the mid.
Indeed, Ocelote has already aggressed onto him. Both of them have been ignited, and a minion aggro flashes out of the body slam. The reactions from both of these players are insane.
What a start to this game 3. That was incredible reactions out of both. Ocelote had to make the flash in for the place so he didn't die, but Forbidden reads him like a book, and the instant reaction flash. This is nail-biting stuff, and we're 4 minutes into the game. Completely different to the beginning of the first 2 games.
Indeed, they were playing conservatively, but now it's just guns blazing for both of these teams, looking for the tower dives and the clutch maneuvers in mid lane. So now we can just take a breather, stress, and we can at least analyze some of these early pickups.
Yeah, I'm going to unleash the chat as well, because some of these players, I do like to see the reactions from the chat when you see those clutch flash plays. And Odamne has come down to this bottom... Sorry, Ku has come down to the bottom lane.
Yeah, it was difficult to mistake because he was a squirrel temporarily. Dialed will be backing off to a shot. Yuki has knocked himself back using the 90 caliber net and blocking the cleaver for his ally. Ku drops into the red zone, but will be safe.
And this is explosive. This is what I would say what we've been looking for, but the first 2 games have been so good in their own right that this is just a continuation of these 2 absolute titans of the challenger scene just battering each other around here.
Indeed, and Ku is not going to give up this bottom lane gank. He's sticking around. Odame backed up. They may just think he's gone for the recall. Yuki does not know what he's in for. Odame looking for the right opportunity to throw her cleaver so they can instigate this fight. Ku is still waiting here. Now they pop out of the bus. Yuki is probably going to have a heart attack. He will be popping the barrier, knocking himself back to the turret, and will be safe.
Ooh, Morden nearly gets cut out in the top lane, but the barrier was just enough to save Yuki. Had to burn flash and barrier, though, as Odamna drops low in the bottom.
Indeed, and so does Yuki. Dyer just returned into the bottom lane skirmish, but the jungler of Morden has literally been locked into the top lane. His effectiveness has been cancelled out, allowing Kha'Zix to run rampant around the rest of the map.
And we haven't even looked at any of the itemizations or anything like that in the beginning, and I don't know whether we'll get the opportunity because Ku is playing so aggressive. He's already got the 1 kill, and that's what he needs on Kha'Zix. You can see Longsword has been picked up earlier. He mentioned to you in the previous series that he didn't mean to go Brutalizer, but bought it by mistake. I wonder whether he'll actually choose to do that again because it fared well for him.
This is not a mistake though. Yuki jukes into the brush, will be collapsing. Ku is not the stage where he can get the reset, but it's not even going to matter. Dad will be shielding himself. Reckoning finishes off that kill. 4-1 will be the scoreline almost 7 minutes into this game.
Cloud9 do not look happy with their performance last game. They realized that they need to get that lead early on and really put Triple Lol on the back foot. They weren't quite in a position to do Dragon, although it was available. They were fairly low, so healing up there after taking some kills is good enough for them because it allows them to buy and consolidate on top of the advantage that they already had. But with this 2v1 swap, it means the control from Cloud9 isn't as good on Dragon anyway, because you don't have the support to continuously be in that area to place down wards. Trinkets do alleviate that, but they don't last as long. So Cloud9 need to, at some point, take this tower and swap around down to the bottom lane to prevent Triple Lol from taking that Dragon with ease.
Indeed, and now that we've hit the kind of 7-minute mark, the second round of buffs will be spawning just to punctuate the action before Ku, and inevitably Morden will start looking for these ganks once again after these buffs have been cleared out. So Dragon is still a possibility, but Mundo is quite happy to wander back into the bottom lane, or is he? Because Ku and also Adam, they are setting up for the Dragon. Now taking it very quickly, cleavers and the isolation damage make for a very dead Dragon.
And Morden's Smite is almost off cooldown, but of course that isolated damage is enough to shred through it, so they don't even need their duo pairing there because they were allowed to rotate around down to the Dragon because of the jungle starts. They were able to really sacrifice getting their second buff early because Blue has only just spawned now for Cloud9, that they knew they were able to get that Dragon without being contested, and this is once again just high-level play out of these teams.
And the top tower has collapsed, and Matrix grab onto JWoww in the top lane, but nothing that they can follow up onto since Morden is there. Q chunks down into 50% into the danger zone with a couple seconds with one clear combo. He has been exhausted, but that's not going to stop the beast as Q picks up another kill.
Yuki's in trouble as well because Odamna doesn't quite land the cleaver. That could have spelled the kill, but Ku is going ham in behind the turret. They're looking for the
It's not over yet. No, it is.
No, it isn't. Vivian, after the intervention, takes far too much damage. JWoww's in trouble as well.
He is. Dragon's Descent comes down. Culling comes across. Ocelote is around. Flash forwards from John, and it's not going to be quite enough, and JWoww escapes with his life. But Q is arrived from the bottom lane. Morton just charging up his Volt Breaker, saying, "You aren't coming anywhere near my dragon."
And compared to game 1, where we had 16 kills in a 50-minute game, we've got 7 already and we're 9 minutes in. This is a far more bloodthirsty game, and it is just so intense that these two teams are just showing exactly what European Challenger can do.
Indeed, we don't even have any time to analyse the builds as they are coming in thick and fast, but finally Kha'Zix has picked up the double longsword and the Spirit Stone, and I think we can safely expect that to be perhaps a Spirit of the Lizard Elder before Ku just misclicks and proves us wrong.
Rather you than me, because he's recalling.
I'll take it this time.
Earlier, he did make a mistake. And he's bought MOBA boots, so he doesn't even finish the item there. So we'll have to wait and see what he does build those in. But the Brutalizer did give him good damage earlier. Just, I don't know, maybe he'll just realize that it's a stylistic choice. Who knows?
Yeah. Maybe he'll realise he's in the jungle and not a lane, because that would be conventional for a lane. But either way.
He's spent enough time in the lanes that no wonder he got confused, because that's Ku's style, is just gank until they're dead.
Indeed, and he has certainly been doing that. Mobility boost being picked up by both of these junglers, and Ku is looking for yet another kill. Forbiven is rotating, and since the dual lane has gone, there is nowhere really to run. Reckoning comes across. Ku is maintaining that bush vision just for a couple seconds. It's just a matter of time before he collapses.
And Ku is on a rampage. This is the point you do not ever want Kha'Zix's jungle to get to. His mobility and damage now, once he's got this number of kills, will allow him to control team fights so well in the mid game. He'll be able to output damage to get the reset and snowball this game away from Triple Lol. The gold is 2,500 difference, and unless Triple Lol can really start shutting down Ku's Kha'Zix, it is going to tumble away from them.
This is the first time that Morden has been allowed to leave the top lane, and that's only because the tower has died. So this is the first time he's allowed to put his own pressure onto this map, which might be the determining factor to bring themselves and slingshot back into this game. But he's going to find himself a pink ward first.
It was a Spirit of the Elder Lizzie, so Ku's gone conventional, but Ocelote might be in trouble.
He is, and this is not conventional. Reckoning comes across, lands the cleaver. Do not go any further on that, especially when Ocelote has that big barrel available.
Ku is prowling around the jungle again, and this early on, he's going to find a target and blow him up.
That's his white, and Morden jumps in using Vault Breaker. He's dying so quickly, but an ace in the hole comes across. That's a squirrel, but now it's Ku again. He's going to be taking down another. Voidal and Jarnan take down Yuki in rotation. Another 2 kills, and Ku has still not been shut down.
Ku will breathe a sigh of relief there. The presence from Voidal and Jarnan is just too much there that Dude wasn't able to continue the aggression. It was only a couple of auto attacks, and Lulu is going to be able to trade that out with a Glitter Lance as well, but wasn't possible because Yuki died, so there was no protection. It would have meant fully committing in from Lulu. Teleport comes out from Mundo to stop the top lane push. That tower is already down in favor of Cloud9, and this is the Cloud9 that everybody has been talking about.
Absolutely, we have to see Triple Lol do exactly what they did in the first game and try and stall this one out, which they did magnificently, but with Ocelote doing rather well, he hasn't really been touched. He's 1-0-0 and the Fiends is up. We'll see if they can really put that stalling power to use.
And we've finally reached the lull period.
Don't say that,
stock. Well, we have for now. Otherwise, we're going to need some pretty long-range engagements. But there's a moment here where we can start talking a little bit about builds, and specifically support item choices. As you would expect, Lulu has gone towards the Talisman of Ascension by starting Ancient Coin. That'll give them the mobility. They've got a very catch-orientated composition with this Vi and Gragas. They're going to be able to split them up and then continue the pressure on, but they're behind against a champion like Kha'Zix, and they've got so much shielding for Kha'Zix that this is one of these times that maybe the Targon's Brace is actually quite a good option, because you look at intervention going onto Kha'Zix as he jumps in, or even the target from Vi. That's extra shielding that'll go on to another member once it does in fact become the face of the mountain.
It's interesting that he's actually opted for Face of the Mountain even before the Spirit Stone, so he can get those extra wards out. But we'll see if this works out. Maybe they are just hedging their bets on Ku, since he is 5-0-2, assisting in 7 of the 8 kills in this game, and looking to claim a couple more in the bottom lane. It's Yuki and Diode, in fact, going to back off to the turret rather wisely, I feel.
I don't know whether you caught the video yesterday on the subreddit, League of Legends subreddit, that was talking about the discussion of the economics behind the 3 support items. We'll get into that a little bit later. Basically, Targon and Face of the Mountain, the upgrade is slightly more gold efficient, but there's a lot of activity around the dragon here, and maybe without that Sightstone, they won't be able to secure as much vision as they'd like.
Voidal has caught himself a Lulu, and a Snowman, it will be Jarnan, but he's quickly out of it and moving on to Diode, and Ku just wanders down and uses Taste Their Fear, collects himself another kill to bring himself to the dominating status.
6-0 at 15 minutes into the game. He's going to be able to absolutely devour this dragon. Well, he won't require the help of Voidal and Jarman, but it looks like they want to rotate just for safety's sake. Ocelote in a little trouble in the mid lane, has himself a good CS lead, but they're going in.
Yeah, Morden finds himself caught by Ku, and already down to 40% from an auto-attack Taste Their Fear. And it's it's going to be Cloud9 zoning them away from this dragon, and Ocelote finds himself Coup. Not the place you want to be. Barrel comes to knock away Forbidden. He dies before he even makes it across the wall.
He made it across the wall, so Flash is now not available. It was as the animation completed, so Ocelote will be without an escape for next time. And that's one of those times where I'm not sure if flashing was worth it, because there's no escape from that, because Kha'Zix will just follow you.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, he didn't make it across the wall. His corpse did.
Yes.
But Cloud9 are just going to push into the middle lane. Ocelote's just going to farm behind the middle turret because why not? And there's no one to defend and no one who really wants to. That's almost a 6k advantage at 60 minutes into the game, and we're going to see even more opened up. Diode dropped to 50% into the low danger zone. Q looking for another kill, and the reset, he is level 10. And Morden now comes in to try and zone him away from his allies, just using that dark passage to get out of danger.
Q cares not for Caitlyn when he can kill the Lulu, that's for sure. 7-0 now. Pickaxe, how much gold does he have on his person? 1,600. So there's going to be a big spike here in his itemizations as he picks up even more. And a last whisper alongside that Spirit of the Elder Lizard at 16 minutes is crazy. Odamna's in trouble and gets deleted in the middle lane by Ocelote.
And he is the saving grace of this game, as we saw in the second game of this series. Stress, he was removing people from the map, specifically the mid laner of Cloud9. I was looking at the opposing team like, the mid laner of Ocelote, that doesn't make sense. The mid laner of Forbidden in the previous game.
Yeah, it's one of those things that you get so caught up in the game and how intense and exciting this series is that sometimes you just forget what you were saying mid-sentence.
Indeed.
Ocelote needs to not forget that Forbidden is pretty powerful, and neither is Coup.
And forget that Q exists. That's legendary. Cloud9 Q 8-0-2. 2 damage items have been picked up.
I have no words for Ku's performance here. Ku, I gave him a little, not criticism, but I was a little disappointed with his Lee Sin. Normally how good his Lee Sin is, but his Kha'Zix is looking impeccable. And the two-man Baron that Cloud9 have chosen to do time and time again is on. And this time with an 8-0 Kha'Zix, that is going to die very quickly.
We may see a steal here. Morden has revealed them. JWoww is there. O'Donnelly's down to 30%. And there is the collapse already. The pincer movement. Q may finally prove he is immortal. And the shutdown comes in for Vi.
Not quick enough, though. That is for certain. Because you've got to be a little too careful. A little more careful there. Because there's wards are going to come over the wall. Triple Lol are not at a level where they're going to let you take Baron this early into the game. They've assessed how far ahead Cloud9 are, and even though Cloud9 can do that, they do require a little bit of that to be given to them by Triple Lol, and I don't think they're in a position to really give that away quite yet.
Indeed, and you said you were a little disappointed with Ku's previous performance, but that's because we've become connoisseurs of Ku play. It's just like, well, that was amazing, but I'm sure it could have been more amazing, just like this game. And the fallback pings, or rather the pings, have gone down onto the blue buff. Culling already drops Diode very low, and that is a level 2 ultimate coming in from Jarnan. But at least they will manage to collect their own blue buff.
Ooh, they nearly didn't. There was a piercing light that came in through there, not quite able to pick it up, but I mean, you can see how much they're even having to commit for that blue buff, and they're just in trouble of losing so much here at Triple Lol. Voidal is maybe looking for something over the wall, steps on a trap, so will reveal himself. But there's a big push on it in the top lane, and I don't think that JWoww is going to be able to survive this for longer.
Yeah, well, that will be Forbidden being revealed by JWoww, quite canny with his knowledge of the map, but Ocelote heading into the top lane, along with Morden, see if they can catch anyone. Looks like that answer is going to be a no, as Kuz just rotates once again, because he is the predator in this game.
He is. That's although normally reserved for Rengar. Unfortunately, Rengar not available in the tournament because of the little bug that is in his kit, but nevertheless, we have Rengar's nemesis of Kha'Zix running rampant here on the map. Yuki drops low under the turret, and Triple Lol are getting pushed in just about every lane. As you said, Ocelote is the saving grace here in this game.
Indeed, and we do see, well, small skirmishes all across the map. 2 versus 2 top lane, 2 versus 2 in the bottom lane, and 1 versus 1 in the bot lane. Warden initiates onto Ku. Adalne is one who's going to be soaking up this damage, and already they decide better of that engagement.
Yeah, not really any way of damaging them that much. They have to really reduce Ku immediately in the fight. They have to take him out and then look to damage further. Hook lands in the bottom.
Indeed, Yuki is being dived here, flay backwards, and the culling comes across. Dayude's going to use himself as a human shield, or rather a Yordle shield, and then he will be pushing this one in.
Oh, Yordle shield. Sorry, that one caught me by surprise. But that will be another tower for Cloud9. They'll just tank up the last damage of that. And they are on true form. 4-0 on towers, 11-4 on kills. And you look at the itemization, it tells the story. Ku at 8-1 with that completed Last Whisper very early on in the game. He's had that a few minutes already, as we mentioned earlier. Trinity Force nearly complete for Lucian. He has 1900, so that will get completed now. Will give him additional damage during these team fights and the ability to maneuver just a little bit better. Picks up the level 2 boots to aid that mobility even more. And Ku's looking aggressive, smartly warding over the wall though to make sure he wasn't about to face check into Morden.
Yeah, Morden will very quickly clear that one up. 10 seconds until the next dragon spawns, and we'll just have to see a triple lol even want to try and contest this. They're posturing around the area, but again, we have Cloud9 on point. And that's an early intervention, and he will just be taking the race. That's going to be very important.
That will be very important. It means Ku doesn't have the intervention as he jumps in, sort of obviously Forbiven giving it to Ku, who looks to be aggressive, but he can't take the poke like that in retreat. And we've already seen Gragas damage from the explosive casks from Ocelote, who is past level 11 by far, so he will have that second level of the ultimate, will deal quite a bit of damage.
Yeah, it shows you how twitchy that Forbiven is, though, at this stage in the game, and who can blame him in the third game of this best-of-5 series in the Scan EUS Winter Invitational. Both these players, and indeed teams, gearing up around the Dragon. And, however, Cloud9 do not feel strong enough that they can just engage 5 versus 5 and win. Gragas Barrel is something you have to be well aware of. As they jump onto Jaywell, who was split, they have interrupted the Dragon's descent, and he will drop. They are going to go for the reinitiation. Sadism has been popped by Adalne, and the culling over the wall chunks Yuki down to half. Voidal is going to be going. Oh, Ku! He doesn't need air vents for this one. Jumping on Dayude, he will be taking him out. And Adalne moving on to Ocelote on Yuki. Maybe not the right idea to go the same way. Ku collects another. In fact, that will be Lucian, and Ku has been shut down. Ocelote is the only surviving member.
And Ku got a really nice path through the back there, but it was only Lulu that came around the side. The rest of Cloud9 as well strong enough to be able to deal with the rest of the team, and Jaywell trying to cut an angle into the Dragon Pit that ended up getting hooked because of the great warding once again from Cloud9. I cannot commend their warding enough here in this best of 5. It is almost, well, it's not single-handedly winning them the game, but it is certainly facilitating their wins.
It definitely feels like a horror movie, though, here, Stress, you know, with the Fed Kha'Zix and the only survivor being Gragas, and he told everyone to escape, but, you know, no one listened. Everyone wanted the dragon, and now it's 15-5, 10k deficit, 23 minutes into this game. It's looking good for Cloud9 and looking good for a Game 4.
And this is one of the biggest deficits that we've seen in this best of 5. It's been so incredibly close between the two teams all the way along through nearly 2 hours of gameplay, that a lead like this early on, with a champion like Kha'Zix who will snowball in a better team fight, because it didn't really go the way Ku would have liked it, and Cloud9 still won that definitively. A better team fight is just going to allow them to close this game out.
Absolutely, but what I was going to comment on is Baron is being taken by Ku and Forbiven, and why not? Because the vision has been strangled away from triple lol. And this will be a very easy Baron take. They're going to have to recall off of that, but still, 300 gold apiece. I'm going to be too unhappy with that.
It's going to be so difficult for triple lol in this game. This is the point where normally we're about 45 minutes into the game in the past 2, where one team has secured the Baron finally, but we're 24 minutes in. The items for Cloud9 are just so much better. You can see Lichbane has been finished on Kayle for a while, alongside the Nash's Tooth, nearly completed the Void Staff, about 900 gold away. So there's big items on the side of Cloud9, and there's only 1 or 2 finished items for each person on Triple Lol, and it's just making these team fights so much easier for Cloud9.
Lucian is literally about to finish his 3rd damage item, which is going to be the last Whisper, so nothing is going to stop the Culling from taking down their team. So finally, it's entered the stage in the game where we have the Tower Siege, and this has been the only thing holding Cloud9 back to just ending the game as soon as they get this gold lead.
Yeah, this has been where Cloud9 have struggled today. They didn't struggle with it yesterday, however, but one of the biggest factors here is going to be Ocelote's wave clear and the ability of him to split the pack, because Cloud9 aren't running the Talisman of Ascension because they have the face of the mountains. They're not able to disengage or regroup with that additional move speed. They're relying for once on the 5v5 fight.
They are, and at this stage they can probably do it because Mundo is very tanky. Kha'Zix is 9-2 and 3, already picking up the Hex Drinker and Vampiric Scepter on top of those 2 damage items, and slowly they will be chipping away at this turret.
Who has to be careful that he doesn't repeat his performance from against MYM earlier today, where he would overstep the mark and dive towers fairly recklessly with a lower lead than he has now. But here comes the fight.
Morden just jumping in initially. Gragas Bow will land onto 2. Ocelote drops so low. There's 1. He has been intervention. And he is dropping so low. He is dropping everyone. Morden will fall. Odame will fall. And now he's just diving the double Nexus turret. Maybe that was a little too ham, but they are going to take the inhibitor.
Ku throws up the XDs into chat to make light of the situation, but that is just Kha'Zix to a point. There was a lot of jumping around in that fight with the Assault and Battery, and the jumps from Kha'Zix is a little difficult to see what was going on, but Yuki is not going to be able to stop this push. It's a surrender vote at 27 minutes into the game. What a convincing performance by Cloud9.
Indeed, and we'll see if they can replicate that performance in Game 4 coming up very shortly.